Welcome back to the DePIN State. I'm your host, Nick Hawks. On today's show, we have Alex, co-founder and director over at IDO. This episode is sponsored by Goldhawks & Associates, the most experienced DePIN consultancy in the space. We help projects develop strategy, messaging, and token incentives. We'll have a little bit more on us later in the show. Before we get started, make sure you hit like, subscribe, smash the bell, all the things that help us keep bringing great guests like Alex to you. Alex, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Hi, how are you?
I'm pumped. I'm pumped to learn about IDO because it's the IoT connection, which I always think is really cool, but a lot of people don't know what it is. So let's start off with tell me a little bit about you and your history and how you came to co-found IDO.
Sure. So I have a traditional financial background, and during my work, I was kind of getting engaged with Web3 here and there. And roughly 3 years ago, I moved towards crypto and Web3 companies, working more on operations side. And around a year ago, I learned about DePIN, and I saw it's a growing market. It's had a very interesting approach. I like the Web3 component, and I like the idea of directly incentivizing user for data collection and the computation sharing. So the whole idea just stuck with me. I had what is my co-founder right now, but at that time a friend who had a smart home company that was very good with IoT devices. They had the technology, and we talked about it and decided that we have what it's needed to come to this market. And we saw the problems in the market soon after we started. We realized there are a couple of big, I would say, crucial problems in the market when it comes to mass adoption, and that is hardware costs. They were unreasonable. It basically made no sense to participate unless you expect a very speculative high token price on those projects.
Sure.
And we realized we have a solution. So that was like aha moment when we knew what we're gonna do, and we knew what the mission is.
Okay. And for folks who don't know what IDO is, basically you take any IoT sensor and you send the data to IDO and you earn tokens for that. Is that more or less the simple version?
That's, I think, a little oversimplified.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Sure. You have half an hour? So usually when I start, I cannot stop, but I'll try to keep it short.
Sure.
We are not monetizing your data. So we connect you with data buyers. So, and the data buyer can be a DePIN project. It can be AI model or AI aggregator. It can be somebody who collects a data set. It can be a market researcher, whoever. So we don't monetize data. We help you connect devices so you don't have to overspend on hardware. So we give you a connectivity technologies that lets you connect third-party sensors, third-party devices, and we give you a marketplace where you can look up who is ready to buy your data, what are they paying, and if you like it, you stream the data to them. If you stop liking them or you don't like them anymore, you can stop, and you can switch between different projects. So as I mentioned, two biggest, like I said, one biggest problem, which is hardware costs. The second biggest problem is ecosystem lock.
Okay.
Even if the devices that DePINs produce were competitively priced, which is like 10 times cheaper than they are right now. So even if they were competitively priced, you're still locked in the ecosystem, meaning that if that project tanks or they don't do well, or for some reason they say, hey, we cannot take data from your country anymore. For you, you're basically stuck with a worthless piece of hardware. It's very hard to find buyers, and you cannot be part of DePIN unless you purchase another device from another company.
Okay.
But the devices under the hood are all the same, give or take. So what we do, we give you the break from those ecosystem locks. So you see supported projects. Two projects can ask you for the same data. They may have different payoffs. They may have different benefits. But if one goes out of business, you can switch to another, and that's the biggest thing we believe. And also, a lot of DePINs are trying to position themselves as a reason to buy hardware. So you buy some IoT sensor, and you hope that it's going to be paid off by that DePIN project.
Sure.
Which is hard because you have to generate data that is valuable enough so it pays off like hundreds of dollars of investment.
Yep.
Now, what we focus on is DePINs are a way to keep the electricity on, the reason for you to get some money back. And on-demand streaming to AI projects and AI models is where you can make abnormal profits. So
Okay.
you stream to DePIN, you make some money, and then Bach, you see a request, hey, some AI model needs data for 2 weeks, and there you make big money. So that's like the whole idea. And also, a lot of the times, the hardware is utilized like 5% capacity.
Yep.
And under the hood, it's all like Raspberry Pi or Raspberry Pi equivalents.
Sure. Yeah.
So you can run 10 projects at the same time on the one piece of hardware. So you have one Raspberry Pi, which you bought from, like, you can buy it used.
Yep.
You put 10 projects, they all give you some tokens. And then you have on-demand streaming that potentially can make you more money, much more money. So this kind of changes the narrative. It makes data more commoditized,
Yeah.
makes DePINs more commoditized, and we believe it benefits everybody because this can bring mass adaptation. Because DePIN currently is in its own Web3 bubble. The
Oh, yeah.
bubble is growing. I mean, bubble probably not the best word, but I mean, this universe of DePIN is growing, but it doesn't. It's mostly Web3 people. You don't have many of Web2 guys with IoT sensors, and there are a lot of those out there. And we need those people to come over and do streaming if we want DePIN to be successful.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, it's taking half an hour for me. It can go on and on. But one last thing to highlight with DePINs, the more users you have, the more concentrated the data is, the more valuable the whole data sets and data streams become.
Got it.
So,
Okay. I
yeah.
think I've got like a good overview, and there's a part in there that is maybe easy to miss, is that for most companies, IoT data is really not that valuable. If I put out a people counter out in front of my store on Main Street, USA, like, it's kind of neat for me to see how many people walk by my store, but in general, it's not really that valuable. But the thing that I keyed in on was this idea that for AI training, that data set can be exceedingly valuable or extra valuable, let's just say. Okay, and that's the kind of thing. So if we look
and it's not just that. It's not just that. If you personally put a counter in front of your window, your particular data would be again of a low value. Maybe for AI it will have some, but if let's say all your town or like I don't know 20 people in your town will put those meters outside,
Yep.
that makes your data somewhere like much more valuable. Like your piece of data becomes more valuable together rather than on its own.
Yeah.
And you have other buyers too. You have enterprises that are doing market researches all the time when they open shops, when they try to study behavior of their clients. You have governments, you have military. They all are trying and looking for data, and they are the same buyers. But you personally not gonna go to I
Each
don't
one of
know
them, yeah.
Starbucks and say, "Hey, I have my meter in front of my house. Why don't you buy those data stream?" Right? That's where DePINs come in. DePINs can do that. DePINs aggregate your data, aggregate streamers, and they can do those B2B sales. I had an AMA sessions recently with one of the projects. We do them on our channel, and they're very like casual. But we had like 4 DePIN projects, and we were like, DePIN is more like Web 2.5. And everybody's like, yeah, it is. And we're cool with it. Because we like the quote one of the visitors said, we are bringing real world profits, real world revenues. So I mean that's a lot.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of people come into DePIN. Okay, cool. Let's take a quick break, and we'll talk about today's sponsor, Goldhawks and Associates. We're a DePIN consultant firm helping projects with strategy, messaging, and token incentives. We run a blog for founders over at goldandhawks.com, produce this show, and most importantly, work with the core teams and communities of your favorite projects in the space to ensure tokenomics and incentives are fully aligned to build out some of the most badass physical infrastructure networks in the world. If your project needs help with any of these, check out goldandhawks.com. Okay, Alex, so coming back to this, I can kind of see both sides. There's the supply side and the demand side, and I can see if you already have a couple IoT devices out there that you're using for yourself, or maybe they're part of another project, you can then take those devices and say, hey, I'll supply this data because I'm using it anyway. And on the demand side, there's two seems like pretty clear customers, the AI side and maybe the enterprise side. Is there anything else that I'm missing on kind of who's the perfect
I would
supplier, who's the
say
perfect demand?
so. When it comes to enterprise,
Mm-hmm.
it will like I think their clients. I believe that, but it will take a long time before they will come openly to the market.
Yeah.
Uh, Before that, depends a kind of a middleman, but a good one, a middleman that aggregates your data. They know what data sets are valuable, they know what type of like a combination of data they want, they know the buyers, they will do negotiation on your side and they will sell it, and you basically get a portion through the tokens. But so instead of enterprise, I would say depends.
Mm-hmm.
And down the road, 10 years from now, enterprise may come on board, but again, no guarantees.
Got
So
it.
let's say
Yeah.
AIs and depends are the main data consumers for DePIN.
Okay. And then for someone who's watching this and they're like, cool, I want to participate, there's probably a couple different ways to do it. The first way I'm thinking of, because I like the hardware side, is there any guidance on the site for like, hey, go out and get these weather stations or this people counter or that soil moisture sensor? Like those are typically the most valuable data, or is it a little bit like kind of guess and check or something else?
So if you talk particularly about us, we're currently doing a beta test.
Okay.
And so we're doing whitelisting. The beta test is coming very soon.
Mm-hmm.
We're mostly filled with all the spots, but we think of extending for a couple hundreds more because just too many people said they want to join. So I would say go to our website. You'll see a form. Just join waitlist. You put your
Mm-hmm.
name, your country, email. You're on a list, and potentially you can get an email asking you to go through second verification, and you can participate in beta test. Now on the hardware side, I can say you can either use your old laptop or which has Linux on it,
Sure.
or you can use old Mac if you want to spare that,
Mm-hmm.
or you can buy a Raspberry Pi. A 3B plus is enough,
Oh,
and
really?
those
Okay.
are yeah. If you go to official RPI store, I think they're $35 new. You can buy them used even cheaper,
Yeah.
and that will be the base station. So we are actually partnering with one of the projects that will allow you to start getting tokens with just that Raspberry Pi without
Oh, so
any
you don't even need a
additional
sensor.
sensors.
Okay.
We find a VPN provider who
Mm-hmm.
pays people for being a VPN node. So for people, it will be ability to start earning tokens right away. After that, I would say Real-Link camera would be amazing, especially if you are in US or
Mm-hmm.
Asia. I would say Korea, Vietnam, Japan, Hong Kong, Singapore. If you are from those countries, go get Real-Link IP camera. That for the full app launch, we have a project that's willing to buy the data. For the rest, we have also Wi-Fi sharing coming
Mm-hmm.
on the launch, and there is you can always also get a Zigbee sensor,
Mm-hmm.
and you would need Zigbee coordinator. So the Zigbee coordinator from Sonoff,
Yep.
roughly $20,
Yep.
sensor another $20. We will get your data. So we are building a data set. Right now, we have a couple of projects thinking of joining. In the meantime, we'll fit the bill. After that, we'll pass you on to those projects. So those sensors are also good. You can buy them used, or you may already have them if you have smart home.
Right. And is there any particular sensors? So there's the Reolink IP camera, and that's REOLANK. I think I've had one of those out on a mountaintop watching a
Uh,
helium hotspot I had. And then the
okay.
Z-Wave hub and the sensors. They're like, what are the sensors that I should be looking at?
So we support more than 7,000 sensors.
Okay. Just a couple.
So
Yeah.
it's a big list.
Yeah.
I would say we're actually putting out a guide. It should be after like a couple of days before the beta test. We'll put it out. It's
Okay.
gonna guide you through all the process. But Zigbee sensors, there are 3,000 plus of them.
Geez. All right.
3,000 plus. We support all of them. I would say Sonoff coordinator and Sonoff temperature and humidity sensor would be a good bet. They brand new, $40. You can probably get them much cheaper if you buy them used.
Mm-hmm.
And RPI 3B plus will be good for any project. So RPI 3B plus would be a good buy.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that's a super good way to wrap this up. For folks who want to know more, go check out AYDO.ai. That's AYDO.ai. And Alex, thanks so much for making the time and coming on today.
Thank you so much.